Welcome to the Hot Flash Pod. We're laughing while our bodies play. I'd pull up a chair, you're one of us. Talking through the chaos, calling out the...
Welcome, everybody, to the Hot Flash Pod. We're back. And as you know, we're the podcast for everyone who wants to connect about whoever they are in this space. We're going to talk honestly about everything from raising kids to everything that's changing in our world on a regular basis. And just know that there's no perfection here, nothing to worry about. Just come and be yourself and have a conversation with us today, because we're the unfiltered space for women navigating the heat of midlife, and we're here to laugh, commiserate, and keep it real, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So I'm super excited. We're leaning into some of our newer topics, and I did have a hand in this one. So I've got a lot of stories to tell, and we probably don't even have enough time, and I'm sure you do too. So here we are with this episode of The Volume is Too High on Everything. And I actually vetted this through somebody else earlier, and they almost instantly knew what we meant by the volume being too high on everything when we were talking about it. So if you could imagine, so I'm going to set the scene for a minute, just kind of get us thinking about what I mean by this. And I'll say that one of my many stories, so we'll talk a little bit more about what it means to all of us, but is the topic of, I'll just say whistling. So even if I just start with the whole notion of whistling. So I had a grandfather who whistled a lot, and I love it. I have really powerful and beautiful memories of my grandfather whistling. He was a barbershop singer, and he whistled tunes all the time, and I absolutely love whistling. Enter this stage of my life, and I absolutely need you not to whistle. And the funny part about that is I have now my child who is aware of my volume being high on everything, which we'll talk about all of the facets, who says, "Mom, they're whistling," knowing that I cannot and I do not want people around me whistling. It is a thing. So I'm looking forward today, and I'm going to go ahead and I think we're starting with a short story from you, Lisa. Are we pitching it to Melissa straight away?
I mean, if we need a hot take for the week, like, I'm happy to do it.
Let's go, Melissa. Dive
All
in.
right. So, I was watching a show with a very handsome man on it. If you know, you know. And his wife or ex-wife, I don't really know what's going on with him right now. It's very complicated. Started having perimenopausal symptoms. And I was like, geez Louise, we were just talking about how this is everywhere. But she was struggling with a lot of the same things that you're talking about. And what I thought was interesting is she went to hang out with all of her girlfriends, and these are people that she hangs out with socially. And there was just kind of this like hush, like I really felt like she was in a room of people that were actually not safe. But she had one friend that was sitting next to her that was talking to her and saying, "Girl, you just need to do HRT, or you just need to do whatever. Like, this is a thing. We all know about it." But it really triggered to me the thing that we enjoy most about each other is the ability to share willingly, openly. But can tell you that there are times where I am talking to somebody about it, and I mentioned that it's, oh, well, that symptoms is because of this. There's kind of like a, I don't have that. And I just thought if you guys had ever had that experience, because I know we talk about one and the other, but it was just obviously other people are having this because I saw it in the film or in the TV show. But I just thought it was so interesting that there were people who were not safe. There were people that were safe. And we just need to make it cool again for the safe to be what is more predominant than the unsafe. So that was my little hot take this week. It's always crazy to see in my personal life, the thing that I'm struggling with reflected in the media. So I get what you're saying. So it was very heartwarming whenever I realized I didn't know that whistling was a symptom. I didn't know that the sound of whistling and it just irritating the crap out of me was a symptom, but it makes sense.
I mean, it's like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can share with you another thing. I went to my doctor this week, and we got to the end of the conversation and I said, "Okay, I'm going to tell you this, but I need you to know that I'm not crazy. I don't need to be, put in, I don't need to be admitted or anything like that. I don't need to be, watched. But I'm hearing like really like high pitched humming, this persistent, sound, especially whenever there's talking going on. She goes, "Oh yeah, that's, because estrogen receptors, blah, 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 going from the ear into the brain." She's like, "It has a name." And she, spouted it off. But I was like, holy crap, I've been sitting here thinking I am going insane. But no, I'm not. I just have a symptom that nobody ever talks about. So I thought I would share that with y'all today.
I feel like everybody always talked about hot flashes. Like that was all we ever talked about was hot flashes. And
That
My
now,
fear
there's
calls.
only, like, the symptoms that you have, right? That, I think what drives that maybe is, like, when you see your physician and they're like they go down their list and they're like, "Do you have these particular symptoms?" And I think that's a struggle for everybody is that we're now as we kind of open the door to learn about it, we now know more about it, which means, just all the things we're realizing. And so it's the volume of everything, right? So it's not I mean, they're not asking you, do you hate whistling? But it is this idea that maybe there are sounds in general, right? So I don't even think that it's limited to whistling. I think it's a symptom of feeling agitated, right? Or having anxiety, or that there are just sensitivities that come with, trying to relearn about your experiences and why you're having them, and then feeling them, and then sorting through them. Yeah, absolutely.
I've got a lot
Well
more.
well, I will absolutely, dive in here and just kind of start with, I think what we're tackling here today and to kind of centralize and anchor our conversation is the volume of everything to me when I thought about this title wasn't so much just the sensitivities. I think it really got into the volume of everything of hearing all of the noise around perimenopause. And since we talked before about all of these experiences, I think it's the volume of everything. So I think it's both positive, negative, neutral, because there's clearly a lot to hear, but then that can also be overwhelming, the stream of information, and it's the volume of everything. Like, how do you listen to what you need? We've talked about the variability here, and I'm curious what if you had to capture what the volume of perimenopause meant for you, each of you, what would that look like? Because I think that there is a volume here. The volume might be getting more information. The volume might be learning about your own needs. The volume might be what you're hearing from others, like you were saying, Melissa, in terms of the media and what they're feeding you. So I'm going to go to you, Melissa, first. I know you just told a story, but I would love for you to kind of maybe a deeper exploration of what the volume of everything might mean to you when we talk about the volume of perimenopause.
Yeah, I during COVID, I became, a TikTok fan. So there was a lot of things being a world is opening up to me that I didn't know of. And I think that that's kind of where everybody learns more about ADHD and ADHD in women, right? And that opened a conversation that I could have, and we can do a whole other talk. We can do a whole other show on that and the shame around it and the difficulty with which it takes to get your treatment and all of that stuff. But I start us off with that to say that I feel the same thing is happening with perimenopause, and I think that it's great. Um, but there's also a dark side to it. The first is that there's already shortages of whatever HRT you can get um, in the ecosphere. Um, so they need to make more of it. I think that it's good because you're going to have more research done, right? Women and women's bodies and how they work is different. And we need to study that more so that there's a validation and that there can be an offset, right? My physician, she's in her early 30s, and she says my mom has Alzheimer's and my sister and I are already on preventative HRT because we don't want to get Alzheimer's like our mother did. And so it's just very profound, right? Like we're going to have a whole different life than the people who came before us. So I think there's some double-edged swords because you might become inundated with things, and all we really need is one. And the same thing with the black boxing of HRT back in the day. If we have something like that, but with the supplement industry, or they find that one of the research studies was flawed, or whatever it is. I had this weird icky anxiety around the more information we have out there about it, the more there's a likelihood that they're going to take it away from us. But I just feel like that might be the state of the world at this moment, and so that fear is one that we'll get through. But that's kind of what I'm thinking about whenever I think about how loud everything is that we need to have a voice. We need to be heard about it, but also looking at what's being said. But we've gone over that kind of thing before.
Yeah. Lisa, what about you?
I mean, similar to what Melissa said, but also like, I don't know, like having people point the finger at it also. And maybe that's just a personal experience, but like the minute I say I'm feeling hot, then everybody's like, "Oh, you're having a hot flash." And it's like, well, maybe I'm not. Maybe I
Yeah.
just worked out and I'm hot. Or
Right.
you have a flux of emotion, right? And they're like, "Oh, hormones," and and it's like, okay, like you're not allowed to just be a person anymore. It's like that perimenopause piece is
Yeah.
being wrapped into your identity, um, which in some ways, kind of like you said, Melissa, is good, and I like that. But other times it's like, well, I don't want to point the finger at perimenopause. I want to, just be me. And that's who I am. And it doesn't have to be backed by perimenopause. So in times, I guess what I'm saying is that it feels like it's becoming a part of my identity and that volume is being turned up. And again, sometimes that's good because there's an awareness and an understanding and it's relatable. But other times it's like, well, I just want to be me. I don't want to be perimenopause me.
I think it's such a good point about, you know, it resonates a lot with me just in terms of preserving myself through all of this, right? So, like, whatever it is that reshapes you, whether it's, motherhood or loss or life in general, we're constantly in these different phases, right? And so here we are in this particular phase, and we're all in different parts of it, right? And it just reshapes who we are. And I don't know that I'm already dealing with that transformation. I don't need it to be defined for me on a regular basis. So I think that that's where I right? Like, so maybe but I think I guess it's one of those, I too sometimes will lean on it a little bit with like, "You don't understand brain fog," you know? And then, so then I think that the playful or at least the connected aspect of it is like, "Okay, so that must be it." It's like, I don't know that anybody could do it right now because I feel like a mess. So I get that my messy signals probably make it messy too. But no, I'm with you. I think there's a lot of uh, predetermined or defined ways of being. I think maybe that might be it. Like we already know what it's like, and it's like this, right?
There's
Well,
also a concern that it becomes another way to dismiss you. So, in the same way that women back in the day were called hysterical and put away, oh, that's just you and your perimenopause. It's not going to be something that we really need to address. It's just the boy who cried wolf sort of thing.
and my husband often talks, and I relate to this as well. Like our mothers didn't talk about it. They just suffered in silence, and those around them didn't know what was going on or didn't understand. And I feel like it's this swing effect, right? Like now everybody's talking about it. We went from not talking about it to talking about it with the volume turned on 10, right? Like it is everywhere, like we talked about in our last episode. Um, so it's just interesting how that also cycles as well.
Absolutely. But I think it's no you.
No, I was just going to add on that and the when I was listening to Lisa talk about how it's now the reason of a lot of things in family conversations, I have started seeing there is more kind of support and talk about it within men's groups, and how to, be supportive of your partner whenever they're going through all of that, because it's disruptive, right? Sometimes it can be disruptive, especially if it's not treated, especially as we're just trying to figure it out. And the fact that they're coming together in the same way and finding ways to be supportive, I think, is really cool.
It's interesting too, because I'm thinking about like when the age of how old was I when my mom went through perimenopause? And I wasn't in the home. Like I was out of the home. So now women are trending to having children when they're older. So they've got teenagers in the home that are seeing, maybe even young children in the home that are seeing this and experiencing this. So, there's that role modeling happening too, where we're seeing, it happen to our loved ones in a different way, maybe. I don't know. But I'm also remembering a guy that I saw on social media, and I don't know his name, but his whole thing is he like hides in a walk-in closet. He whispers, and he talks about supporting his wife through perimenopause, and he's like in the closet with the phone up close, and it's really funny, but it's really sweet because he's like, "This is how I'm experiencing perimenopause."
Well, I have a great question for you, both of you. Um, and I think I'll go to you, Lisa, and then you, Melissa. And I think one of my questions is, and this is maybe something that comes from my own house, what can they do it right? I mean, and I don't mean just our partners, but I mean anybody who's in our life. So Lisa, I'm going to ask you first. Can somebody do it right? Like, is there a way to do it right in terms of, because the question to me is like, I feel like I'm always wrong, and I'm like, I feel that way too because I feel like I don't know what's happening. But can they do it right, whoever they are?
That's a collective they. They Yes, I think some things they can, but I also think it depends on how I'm feeling in that given moment in time, and what they are trying to do. And if it's something I think I do really well, then no, they can never do it right.
It's honest. It's honest. What about you, Melissa?
So, studies are coming out, and I keep saying about my ADHD, but they're so intertwined that the the symptoms and the side effects and just are more exacerbated during perimenopause. And so, for me, my impulsivity and my oppositional defiance is sometimes an issue, because if I'm feeling that anxiety, or I'm feeling that anger, or I'm wanting to say the thing when they are just, talking to me, or, doing something kind for me, but for some reason it's seen as an irritant at that moment. Having that conversation, and being able to recognize and go, I'm so sorry, and having them be like, hey, you want to talk about that? Like, I think what you just did was probably not really you. It was probably some other things. Or, just trying to pause. I know it's hard to do that, but that's where it shows up the most for me, is that just the impulsivity, not being able to filter, or not being able to realize that the way that my brain is taking whatever it is that they're doing is not actually bad. For example, my dog will be in her bedroom, because apparently now she likes to sleep in this other room. But so then she won't be sleeping with me, and that's kind of our thing, like, "You're supposed to sleep with me." The other day, my partner brought my dog in. She's a 55-pound dog, and he's carrying her in to put her on the bed next to me, and I was just like, "Oh my god, don't do that, it's freaking her out," like, and I was like, "Really, Melissa?" That was very kind of him, and she needed to be next to you anyway. But just, the irrationality of me seeing that through the lens of difference was just weird. I'll just leave you with that example.
Well, I think there's a part of it is like checking ourselves in the process, right?
Check it before you wreck it.
Yeah.
Check it before
Yeah.
you wreck it. Yeah.
So, Suzanne, you're asking all the questions today, and I want to ask you a question. And Melissa, I would love to hear your answer to this as well, because when you shared our topic for today, I kind of went somewhere else with it. I kind of went more down
Ooh.
the like we were going to talk about the whistling, but what other things besides whistling drive us insane, right? Like right now, like what are the things that happen in your home, whether it's your partner or your teenage child or your dog, that drive you bonkers right now, that just you're like overstimulated by it and causes you to like freak out?
So our big joke is this. I don't know that I freak out. I think, some of my interventions have helped to reduce my response for sure.
Hmm.
Like some of what I know we're going to talk about in an episode, but one of them is breathing. This is like a fun joke that we kind of use as like our like fun couples joke, where I say, you know, "Oh, yeah, my husband is breathing," and I tell him, "Please stop breathing." He's like, "But I have to." And I'm like, "But I'd like for you to stop. Like, you're breathing too much." Like, he does this sighing thing that,
Does. I
I
know
think it's a
exactly
matter
what you're talking
like he's, like, trying to, like, breathe through the moment or breathe through the stress of every day, and he's like, "All I've got is this, like, I don't have anything else anymore, I just have my deep breaths, let me," and I do get it, like, and outside of it, like, I get that, like, he's just a human being, he's probably doing some breath work, and I'm like, "But not next to me." So, between that, and then I think that there are this, like I think when you feel emotional and people are emotional around you, so whether it's any family member who has any emotion, like, I'm like, "Good, nobody have any emotions. I'll have all the emotions. So we can't all have emotions, and that's not fair." So I'm, like, trying to figure that out as I go along, which is, like, everybody else gets to have emotions too, Suzanne. Like, but I want everybody to be not emotional,
and
not
not
breathe,
breathe.
don't whistle.
Is that practice?
Yeah,
Right.
there you
We're
go.
dealing with enough over here. Can y'all just, for the next 3 or 4 years, not need anything? That'd be great.
That'd be great.
So
That'd
how
be
about
great.
you, Melissa?
So the breathing, absolutely yes. Sometimes, we're cuddling and I notice that he's not breathing. And, I've already had a spouse die. I don't need to like be fearful that another one had it. Why are you not breathing? Like, what is going on here? Right. I know. It's hard.
Trying to keep you
And he's like,
happy.
I'm right. And I'm like, but he knows that I don't like to breathe in the exhalation of someone else. And so when we're close like that, if because I'm like, it's carbon monoxide. I don't need that in the psychosis is just hilarious. So he's not breathing so that I can, be comfortable in the cuddle, right? Oh, yeah,
So much pressure.
the other thing is, having to say something multiple times. I'm like, am I mumbling? Am I saying it too fast? Am I not saying it loud enough?
Mhm.
Why the crud do I have to say this? And it's wild. It's like, hey, can you, bring the trash in? What? Can you bring the trash in? What do you mean? Can you bring the trash in? I, and finally, the third time they get it. Uh, and then we just got a new couch. And I would like for him to sit in the center of the cushion, not in the crack of two cushions. Because in the last couch, he sat in the crack and wore out the crack. And so the couch is like this all the time. But I want it to be, if you're going to rub a hole in it, it needs to be in the middle. So, yes, I could. And this is just the cherry on the top, the things that I could come up with at the moment.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep a good log so we can come back and circle back to this topic. It just be the source of all our material.
I love it.
Yes. Yep. Yep. You're just doing too much of this and the volume of everything, right? So for me, it feels like volume. And I know other people could just maybe define it differently, but for me, it feels like the volume. Like I just need you to turn down the volume on whatever it is that you're doing. So,
I think it's especially hard for women just because we are supposed to care for everything. And so,
Mm,
you know,
yeah.
if you look at the wheel of life and all the things that are involved in it, in just your body and your immediate family, in your bigger family, in your town, your community, the world, it's like, man, you can't do everything all at once. You have to do two or three things, hopefully well, and call it a day. Because otherwise, we would honestly, that's the biggest problem I have with myself is that all that is going through here in my mind is it's not enough. It wasn't done. Like, yeah, it's just nothing ever adds up or nothing is ever good enough. And there is literally nobody telling me that. It's just my internal clock of these are all the things I want to do with my life. And every single minute is very precious. And And, I'm sure that it's partly grief, right? And going through that whole process, but it's really like a downer sometimes. There's a fine line between like ambition and oppression, just,
Yeah.
what we do to ourselves.
Yeah. Well said. Well, I think it's a great time to kick it to Lisa for um our
Hot
Is
flash
it
of the
what's
hot?
week.
news
Hot
out in the world. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hot flash of the week.
So Melissa actually touched on this earlier, and I was like, oh, that's a story, but it's totally relevant, which is why it's all interconnected. Just a couple of days ago, they came out on the media and in the news that estrogen patches are going to have a shortage. And for two reasons. Yeah. Yeah. So load up on cream because the patches are going to be tight. They're going to be hard to get.
Awful.
So because they lifted the black box warning back in November, so now we are seeing a surge in women who are seeking HRT therapies. And what's the most convenient one, right, is the patch. So we're seeing an influx in prescriptions, we're seeing an influx in demand, and so we're seeing a decline in availability. So there you go. Turn the volume up on that. That's a little scary.
Yet another reason why women our age still have buying power and still have influence in this country.
Yep.
Will tell you that my pharmacist actually was the one, which when I went a few weeks back, who actually signaled this to me. So, and gave me all those tips about creams, like you just said, Lisa.
Yep.
So my pharmacist was the one that said, heads up. And I said, okay, thanks. Yeah.
And it's just one girl talking to another girl. I love it.
Like, here we are. Right. Well,
Mhm.
so this is a good time to also say, um, is there anything before we go that you want to share with the group that you think that something that happened in your life that stood out to you this week, or something that we talked about today that you didn't get to share yet, something that you want the group to take away from the hot flash, or your hot take of the week, I should say? Anybody
I
got
will
anything
share. I was
big?
just on vacation this week with um, some friends, and it's always, I don't know, I think when you get together with female friends, and here we are right now sharing stories, but just that sense of camaraderie and empathy that comes out of that, when I can observe what my friend's partner is doing that drives her crazy. And I can say, no, you're not crazy. Like, this is, you can relate to each other and like validate those feelings for each other. I think that's really powerful. And that's why I appreciate this time and those relationships that I have in my life.
I think
Hey,
that's well said. I'm going to jump in. Sorry, Melissa. We've had a lot of conversation too at home around what does support look like? And I think that support has to be mutual. And so I think that there is this space where we're kind of gone inward. And now I'm kind of coming to this other space of like being aware of its impact on others and balancing that. So I think that's a really powerful statement. I'm sorry, Melissa. Back to you.
no, that's okay. I'm glad you said that because that definitely resonates with me. Just making sure that you're asking, what does support look like? Because I'll tell you, that's one of my pet peeves. When someone is being supportive, but it's being supportive in a way that gives them the joy and gives them and so it's really not the thing that brings me joy. And so for me, it's like I don't really need whatever that thing or whatever it is that you've done for me. And then I feel bad because I wasn't just so grateful over it. And then again, with what Lisa said, I actually talked to one of my girlfriends from college. I haven't talked to her in like 2 or 3 years. And it was so interesting how the similarities of our lives and all the things we're going through. It was really good. It's nice to have that validation to not be by yourself with all of that, which is why I think we do this.
Well, I think it is wonderful that we have each other. Wonderful we now have a new community building around us. Those of you who are listening to the Hot Flash Pod. So if you laughed, cried, and felt seen today, share this with a friend who needs it. Until next time, stay cool.
Bye.
Is it me or is it burning up in here? Who turned up the heat? Laugh, cry, sweat dry, shifting every gear. Oh, the drama. Three friends riding out this wild left turn. Got a story for every sudden burn. Welcome to the hot flash pod. We're laughing while our bodies play hard. Pull up a chair, you're one of us. Talking through the chaos, calling out the fuss. Hot flash pod. We'll turn this roller coaster into a knot to every blazing hazy. Is it just me? Day hot flash pod. We're gonna laugh it away. Brain fog, mood jog, what was I just saying? Jeans tight, sleep light, heart still staying. We spill the tea on every twist and turn. If you're sweating in the cereal aisle, it's your turn. Welcome to the hot flash pod. We're laughing while our bodies play hard. Pull up a chair, you're one of us. Talking through the chaos, calling out the fuss. Hot flash pod. We'll turn this roller coaster into a knot to every blazing hazy. Is it just me? Day hot flash pod. We're gonna laugh it away. So hit play, lean back, feel seen. We're turning Perry into comedy queen. This is the hot flash pod.